Welcome to another Clutch podcast. Today we have an Airbnb episode for you guys. So if you're interested in learning about that, we're going to tell you how one person left a multiple six-figure oil and gas corporate job to leaving to generating 7 figures in a property management business with Airbnbs. And now he cash flows multiple hundreds of thousands off of just 4, which is crazy. My guest, Andrew White, the Airbnb nerd.
Howdy.
How's it going, my guy?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me.
Man, so that right there, what I just said is pretty crazy. So you really had a multiple 6-figure corporate job and you left it.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, man. To me, that's just crazy.
I mean, yeah. It was definitely a scary transition. You know, I don't want for people to get the wrong idea. I do still consult for that company some.
Okay.
You know, it's been hard to wean myself 100% off of that whole thing. It is good money. But yeah, 95% of my time is devoted to building Mouse House Rentals. It's our property management business.
Okay.
Airbnb property management, only short-term rentals. And then also focusing on, finding good short-term rental investments.
Mouse House Rentals, that's the name of the company?
That's us.
Nice. So as we were talking before the podcast, I'm new to the Airbnb space.
Welcome.
It's been fun so far. So I have one. So my first one just went live. I'm about to have 2 more go live, and then I'm remodeling a few. And I'm learning about the game.
Yeah.
And we had a lot to talk about, and I have a lot of questions for you.
I got some answers.
I think, man, when we were talking, you were blowing me away, man. So you have 4 personal Airbnbs, right? They're yours. And you were telling me how they all cash flow about 50%, and they're all cash flowing like together, multiple 6 figures every year.
Yeah, just about.
That's wild.
Last year I had 3, and we had one that was kind of a bigger 4+ bedroom house with a pool. That was the second property we ever bought. And then we had 2 that were like small 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
And we started to see that difference between the big house. We put in like similar money, a little bit more than the other houses, but the amount of cash flow we're getting off them was just insane compared to the other 2.
Okay.
So we've been kind of reorganizing and pivoting back towards, those bigger properties that are going to bring in. If it's not going to gross at least 6 figures, then I'm typically not going to touch it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. So, because 4 properties to cash flow that much money, that like if somebody was not to create a property management company and they just wanted 4 or 5 of these, you can retire off that.
Oh, 100%.
And that's not a lot of managing. I mean, it's only 5.
Yep.
So if you're watching this, guys, stay tuned. All right.
Yep.
Tell me. Go ahead.
Those first couple too. It's worth mentioning. Those were, I didn't have to go buy those off market. Those were like mid 21, kind of during the peak of everything. Bought on market at like roughly market value.
Really.
So if you're a skilled investor as well and have good sources and the good knowledge for like where to get a good deal. And to buy, at 60, 70, 75%, you're going to be in a really great position, assuming you're still buying the right house. You can build a pretty incredible empire if you're combining like a BRRRR strategy with like an STR exit.
Wow. Yeah. And that's exactly kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so you're saying you bought them full price, full retail, and you're able to cash flow this amount.
Yeah.
And so, like, guys, most of my viewers are wholesaling and into real estate investing, so they know how to source these properties at, 70, 50, 40% off.
Yep.
Right. And so, like, guys, if you're getting these type of properties and being able to get them at a great deal, you can even refinance all the furniture in there because you got so much space in there, so much equity. Yep. So if you're doing that, you're ahead of the game. And that's kind of what we're looking into. So tell me, how did you get into the Airbnb space?
It's kind of like, I guess my real estate journey as a whole is a pretty typical story. Working a real stressful, like very demanding real estate career, or not real estate, corporate job. Mm-hmm. And then towards the end of 2020, my wife's parents both passed away really suddenly. And her dad had done kind of the textbook of what you're supposed to do. He'd had a corporate job, retired early thanks to pension pennies and stuff, and then passed away really young. So I kind of just had this flash where I went and looked at my 401k and was like, I'm going to die before I make it to 65 when I can even take any of this money or go enjoy life or go start living again. Right. And I'd always been a little interested in real estate, but I didn't even know what it meant to really invest in real estate. Cash flow, I didn't get that.
Gotcha.
And so I decided I was just going to get like one like cheap long-term rental. I found one in Kansas City, Missouri for like 60 grand. Never ever seen that house. But it rents for 900 grand a month or $900 a month. So make pretty decent cash flow. There's like super low property taxes there.
You still have that?
I do.
Oh,
I do
wow.
actually. Every time I think about getting rid of it, because I got a lot of equity in it, percentage wise. But it's the easiest mailbox money I get. I work so hard for all the Airbnb money, so
Really?
I'll hold on to it.
So
for
you
now.
do like LTRs?
Oh yeah, I'll move there. I'll kind of soften up my portfolio at some point,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
it's hard, man. I'm hooked on cash flow.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I guess once you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Then you probably start transitioning over to a little bit less headaches, right?
Exactly.
So that's pretty crazy. I've never invested outside of my own city. How much do you cash flow a month off of that?
like $500.
$500,
Yeah.
just straight cash flow.
It's a $320 mortgage payment, like PITI.
Wow,
We get $900 a month. Got a property manager on it, like
easy money.
easy, dude. It's great.
Dude, you get 10 of those. I mean, shoot.
That was my original plan, and then so my wife and I were living like north of Seattle at that time, and we're planning to move back here, and I started talking to some people. I think I saw a 9-unit like south of Southtown, and I was looking at that thing, and they said, "Oh, we're renting one of them Airbnb," and so I reached out like on a Facebook group, ended up getting hooked up with an agent who was into Airbnbs. Turns out his agent's wife knew my wife. Next thing you know, like he and I were buddies, and he was like, "Dude, don't buy this. Like, come buy one of these STR type houses." And he kind of started talking me into it. Shout out to Todd Warwick. But yeah, he kind of sucked me into it, and I got one. And once we got, I think we went live May of 2021, and immediately had like almost the entire month booked. Just blew me away. At that time, that house was a little 2-bedroom in Dignity Hill, and it was spinning off $7,000 a month gross. And we bought the house for $320. In retrospect, I paid too much for the house, but I know better now, but I didn't then.
Yeah. It was right by downtown.
Yeah, great spot. So yeah, I kind of got a taste for that, and I was like, man, I'm getting $900 a month on this LTR, but I just got $7,000 in my first month as an STR, so it was just like not even comparable.
No brainer.
Like, yeah.
So it's kind of funny. So my first Airbnb is a little 2-1 on the east side. It's not even a very good street. It's kind of, but dude, I booked it. I put it live, and it's booked 2 months straight.
Nice.
And I'm like, yo, what? Because I've heard the rumor is, right, the Airbnbs are going down. There's all these like vacancies. People are getting out of the business and selling the houses. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Are you experiencing any of that?
I do say that. I do see that a bit. I think what's really getting hit is the middle.
The middle. Okay.
I think there's a market where you're almost in direct competition with hotels.
Okay.
That still is doing pretty well. And you might be like roughly $100 a night or kind of that territory. And they're still kind of able to book. Although, I mentioned earlier, guests are getting a little more discerning with their dollar. I think everybody's still got champagne taste from the past couple of years, but they're all on beer budgets now.
That's a good way to put it.
We're getting a lot of real picky people, and I'm like, you're going to be picky about this house?
Yeah.
But then on the higher end, which is most of our properties, we're not really seeing a huge impact. It's not quite as booked as it was last year. Some of our properties are, but the $5,000 to $1,000 a night kind of properties, we're still booking up. We still had really great summers.
$5,000 a night?
Up to $1,000.
Up to
we
1,000.
We have some that rent out, real peak times.
500 to 1,000 a
Yeah.
night. Okay, those are most of what your properties are?
Most of them, yeah.
Okay.
And we have some during peak times. They might get a weekend or something where it's like 1,800 to 2,400 a night. But these are houses, like 6-7 bedrooms. They sleep 25, 30 people. If you divvy that up between all the people that are staying there, and then compare it to like trying to get hotel rooms for them,
that's true.
it's actually a good deal. So there's an economy that comes with having those.
I was actually looking one up the other day. I'm like, I need something with 12 beds.
Yeah.
So
It's hard
and
to
it was
find.
$1,800 a night, and I was gonna book it.
Yeah, it's not that bad when you kind of do the math.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually, yeah. So define to me the middle section.
The middle to me is kind of what the bread and butter is for most like LTR people.
Okay.
3 2s, nothing special about it.
Location.
Location. It's not really, it may be central-ish, but it's not really in downtown. It's not really, not like you can say, you're 2 blocks from SeaWorld or something like that.
Gotcha.
And I think to me, like the amount of money those properties can earn has stayed relatively stagnant, but the prices have continued to grow on those. So, because that's what your typical homeowner is looking for.
Right.
And so the spread has just not really kept up.
So it's like the typical landlord that's trying to maximize their monthly cash flow, but they're not really being unique and thinking like, what does the guest want?
Exactly.
So what about the lower end? Like the cheap, like $50 to $100 a night.
I can't really speak on that. I don't manage any of those. I don't have any like that.
Well, I do. I have one.
Yeah.
And it's booked.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, they book up, from the management side, very quickly we started saying like, okay, well, if the same weekend booked, especially when I'm managing it, like it's the same amount of work for me to make sure that those people check in and that they're happy. But if I only get 20% out of what comes in, right? So
Oh, wow,
if
that's
it's a $200 weekend versus the bigger houses where it's probably a $25 to like maybe $4,000 or $5,000 weekend, I'm making significantly more for really the same input on time. I have to manage the same standards.
Yeah.
Our team still has the same amount of kind of back and forth communication with them
I
and all
gotcha.
that. So it ends up being a lot more work for us to not really,
So you're speaking from the property manager side.
yeah.
So you're like, I wouldn't even take on one of those.
Yeah.
First of all, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But what my kind of question was like from an investor point of view, like and what we're experiencing or what they're saying about the Airbnbs going down a little bit. Do you think that's taking a hit as well? The cheaper size, because we're comparing them to hotels, right? And not a lot of times can you find something under $100 with 2-3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Have you noticed anything there, or you just haven't really paid attention to that part?
Well, yeah, I don't have the firsthand experience with it. I can
Gotcha.
speak on like kind of, I guess, that lower end of the mid tier up.
Gotcha.
But since I don't have those properties, I don't really see it.
Gotcha.
In the end, though, I mean, the thing, like most STR investors, right, over the past couple of years, the majority of them were going out. They were buying properties on market, probably the wrong-ish property, probably not really getting that unique one, and now they're getting squeezed out. Now, if you're buying at proper investor prices, then you can STR, and like it really is some icing on the cake to you. But if you have to STR in order to cash flow on that house, like you bought the wrong property, you didn't do the proper due diligence, and like, sorry man, your underwriting probably sucked. It only worked at a time like 2021, 2022 Airbnb numbers are being looked at as an anomaly because there was such a huge rush. But now the supply of those properties has picked up a ton compared to where it was 2 years ago.
Gotcha.
So, it's just demand has grown a lot, but supply has way outpaced demand. So,
But I mean, I think that was like over businesses in general.
yep.
Was it because I have a CPA and I told him, I was talking to him about it. He goes, bro, everybody was booming in 21, 22. Everybody. Now the only people that are staying, relatively like good margins, good numbers, good profits are the pros.
Yep.
So like anybody was successful in 2022, 2021 because the economy was just booming, right? Everybody was spending money. And so I think that's just for just about across the field, right? Across the board. And so speaking on like the properties that you have and we're talking the higher price points, what is something like somebody should look for? So like when you're looking for a new property, what for the viewers looking, what are the, like, do you have like some certain topic? I mean, some certain type of points you're looking for, or location?
I mean,
amenities?
Yeah, I mean, typically I'm buying in nicer areas. From my point of view, the headache that might come with, guests checking in and especially if they're from out of town, right? They come in, and if I'm selling them a nicer like luxury home and it's maybe the nicest home on a real sketchy feeling street, it's not a great first impression. You always have to think like, okay, guest first, hospitality first. So if they're pulling up and their first thought is like, what did you rent, Karen? Or like whatever. Like, then they're stepping in the house feeling unsafe. Now we can maybe recover from that. Maybe they start feeling good in the house, but if you end up like, homeless people or like maybe something sketchy and, hey, I heard gunshots last night.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that that's necessarily a danger to them, but like it makes them feel like.
Yeah, I would. If
maybe,
I'm out of town and I heard gunshots, like,
yeah.
And that's kind of crazy because like there's a lot of Airbnbs in the east side. And that neighborhood is like really sketchy, but I mean, they're doing well.
They're doing well. And I mean, and that area's coming up, right? Like from an investment standpoint, I get it, right? Like a lot of those neighborhoods have gentrified a lot and they're on the way up, but they still got a lot of time to go. So typically, I'm going to start with like neighborhood or is kind of my first thought because I can't change the location once I buy it, right? So it's like, for me, if I'm going to be picky about it, I've tightened my buy box up a lot.
Okay.
I don't even look at the stuff if it doesn't feel like it's kind of a slam dunk from my perspective.
Okay.
So first is that, and then the second is usually like size and head count. So I typically like at least 4 bedrooms, preferably a little bit on the larger side. So I can maybe have 4 bedrooms, but maybe there's a room that I can put 2 like full queen beds in, or like 2 bigger beds, like something where I can start to add like, well, it's 4, which you typically say 4 times 2 people in each room. Okay, well, can I get that to 10? Can I get it to 12? I've got one that's got 2 queen beds in one of the rooms, and another room's big enough for 2 bunk beds. So plus we offer like rollaway beds or like air mattresses. So like we've got 14 people that we could sleep in like a 2,300 square foot 4-bed. And that one also has a pool. That's usually my next thing. So
Okay.
I want a preferably heated in-ground pool with an in-ground hot tub. And sometimes people don't believe it, but like sometimes the numbers make sense to put a pool in
Really?
to pay for it.
How much is a pool nowadays?
It depends. You can put in like a fiberglass one with a heater and all that for like $60,000.
Really? Oh, that's not bad at all.
And then you can get like a proper pool put in, probably for like 75. The problem is finding the builders.
Right.
All those dudes, like they have like 2-year wait lists. And so if you want to bump anywhere up in that list, they're charging $150,000, $200,000 to put in a pool. So, but if you know anybody, if there's a pool builder listening to this, call me, please.
So, okay, so location.
Yeah.
So are you the type to go like kind of like not within the city limits, or like let's just say like a Bulverde? Do you like one of those little secondary markets, or?
So I haven't personally bought out there. I've been watching numbers and kind of watching the data out there. I used to live in Bulverde. I live out in Bernie now.
Okay.
And I like those areas.
Spring Branch,
There's obviously a ton of growth going out there. There's just not a ton of demand right there on the vacation side. So if you're going to be out there, you do need to offer something. So anytime you're going to be off the beaten path where there's not a clear attraction, like in San Antonio, you got business travelers you can get to, especially in smaller units. See all the conventions, you got all the stuff downtown with the Riverwalk, yada yada. You got SeaWorld, Fiesta Texas, you got Lackland Basic Training. So there's a ton of reasons people are coming to town if you're here.
Yeah.
But as the further out you get, the property becomes the attraction. So like, is it really glamorous property with like views and stuff like that? Like you get into like the Airbnb, Instagram kind of world, right? Where like where you want people scrolling through and they got to stop and you're like, well, I'm willing to, I guess I just want to go tubing in New Braunfels, but I'm willing to like be half an hour away in Bulverde to have like this kind of experience, right? People want to taste
it. Has to be
like,
over the top, crazy. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So location. So do you have like a location that you like really, really like?
I like the core areas of downtown, like typically, at central downtown. Lone Star's still got a ton of opportunity. I think Lone Star's a great neighborhood for investing and kind of building up. Also most of it's not historic, so you get away from a lot of the headache. Obviously like Southtown, Lavaca, great neighborhoods, tough to find a good deal in, and they're expensive.
Yeah.
And then, Tobin Hill, like just kind of the nicer areas of downtown that are a little further down that gentrification path. You can also get like just on the edge outside of those and probably do all right, but you do start running into problems with like homeless folks and such, like at 5 Points in some of those neighborhoods.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's still a lot of opportunity and there's money that's going in there. So
okay.
And then pretty much from there, I'd usually draw like essentially a V going north. So like that central between I-10, 281, north 1604 or south of 1604 area. There's a lot of great opportunity there. You can get decent price points too and still burr some of those properties. And then like kind of the wings around those, like kind of wrapping 1604 over down towards SeaWorld. Okay. And then, a little bit west of 281 along 1604, you can still find some good stuff.
So 281 and I-10 going up, following those highways and a little off to the sides.
And then yes, a little bit wide of those essentially is where I typically look.
That's a nugget right there. So to me, so I'm about to Airbnb a house with a pool.
Nice.
How does it work with the insurances? Do you need different insurances or?
So in general, with STRs, you need to make sure that you have an STR rider or preferably STR specific insurance. And it is more expensive. It's a shock it's probably going to be like 50 to 100% more expensive than a typical.
Really?
But you need to be careful because a lot of standard insurance policies have a clause in there saying that they do not cover commercial use, and they would consider that to be Airbnb. So if something happens, some guests accidentally burn your house down, like you're not covered.
Really?
The whole thing is invalidated, and you can lose the whole property over it.
And so these special insurances, are you able to get them with like conventional loans, like in your mortgage payment?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you just let them know, hey, I'm going to rent this house, and then, the
Yep.
homeowner's insurance, they switch it to the right policy, put it in your payment.
That's it. Yeah, you just
Really?
got, and sometimes it's with like traditional carriers. I think I got one that's through Farmers,
Okay.
and then the others are through some broker that does stuff nationwide. I think American Modern, I think, is the company.
Okay.
The gold standard is Proper. They're called Proper Insurance. They're the gold standard in the STR world.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be switching over to them as some policies come due.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, they're a little wild about it, right? Like they'll make you list off all the amenities. They'll take pictures. If you have bunk beds in the house, they need to make sure that you have agreements with your guests over safety. Same with like a pool. You know, make sure you're getting waivers signed. Like we have third-party agreements to get signed with every single booking. Like you don't get in the house I don't care if you book through Airbnb and you agree to their terms. Now here's a contract directly between me and you.
Really?
So if Airbnb says they're not going to cover something or something happens, like I'm legally covered now without them having to play as middleman.
Really?
Yeah. So like the liability side gets much
That's-
more important.
And that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I wanted to know. So how do you get them to sign that? Like, can you put it inside the Airbnb? Like when they sign it, or it's totally outside of the website?
No, so we use a property management software called OwnerRez that's is pretty sophisticated. It's also a huge pain to use, but like it's got a ton of functionality from like a property management software standpoint. But they've got it as a service kind of like built in inside of it. So all of my automated messages, after somebody books, they immediately get a message that says, hey, thanks so much for booking. We just want to confirm there's going to be this many people, and your dates are, you're going to be here with us for 3 nights starting on July 27th, checking out on the 30th. And then, by the way, your booking is not finalized with us until you've also completed this, what's it called? Renter's agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a link that goes out that's from OwnerRez that has a link to a specific pre-populated agreement now that's got all of their reservation info in it, and they can DocuSign through that link. So it's pretty slick. It also collects in that we get their phone number and their email, which is a trick on the marketing side. So you don't get any of that information. You get phone number through Airbnb, but you don't get their email or their address or any of the other contact information. So like now you start to build a database on guests to go remarket to, so you can start marketing to all your past guests. So that's another little trick that kind of comes with that part.
Okay, so guys, we're getting into the little intricacies of actual owners here.
Yeah.
Because that was one question I had, because I was a little worried. I mean, it's a pool, right? Things can happen in a pool. I also have bunk beds in the house. So now, okay, I'm gonna have to sign a waiver on the side of what they agreed to with Airbnb.
You can get so like Proper Insurance. If you go speak with them, they'll walk you through all the things they're going to require to make sure you're covered.
Okay.
I think with bunk beds, they usually just make sure in Airbnb, like to keep it simple, you can there's a section to put house rules.
Okay.
And one of your rules can be, we need to make sure that guest agrees that they are liable for any damages or injuries from use of bunk beds. You'll want something that says guest accepts all liability for use of the pool and hot tub or anything like that. And then, outside, you're going to have to make sure that you've got clearly posted signs with like pool rules. Like that stuff is at every public pool for a reason.
Gotcha.
It's a liability cover. It
really is, though.
It is. Yeah. People do stupid stuff, and people go on vacation,
And
man, and they shut their brains off. Everybody
Right.
gets shit hammered for a couple of days.
Yeah,
so.
no, straight up.
I do.
Yeah, I do too. So high-end houses, unique. Location is important. And if you have a pool, some waivers, right? We just discussed all this.
Yep.
And not only that, but you got to make sure you have the right insurances to protect yourself and your property. Okay, so this isn't a normal insurance. It's a short-term rental insurance that you got to look into. So that's what we just discussed. I remember we were talking, and you were saying that so all your houses have pools, right?
Just about a good majority of them.
And probably in the future, that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, that's the route we're going down.
And so now that you're telling me it's 75 grand or maybe even 150 because the wait is so long, that's probably going to add a lot of value to houses because it's going to cost more to build than if you just buy one with it, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to start actually thinking about that as well. And I remember you told me on the phone the other day, you were like, hey, is your pool heated? And it's not. And he's like, and it made a lot of sense because Andrew goes, well, in the winter months, or when it's too cold to use it, I mean, it's just like an expensive amenity. You just look out the window there; it looks nice.
That's it.
But
man.
if you put a heater, now it's a year-round amenity. And I was like, man, that makes sense. And so, have you done that before? Have you added a heater?
So we got one house that's got what's called a cowboy pool. It's like one of those little like stock tank dipping pool. It's definitely not a pool, but we get to check the box on Airbnb. It's not the same thing. But during the winter, we got a heater on that thing that'll get it up to like 105 degrees. That's hot tub temperature.
Dang,
so like we also get to kind of say like, hey, it's like a hot tub too. So having that heater, instead of it just being a regular 5-bedroom the rest of the year during the winter, which here, it's cold enough. It was cold enough into May this year for guests to be turning on pool heaters. Yeah. So having that option, people will pay a premium for it first. But like when everybody else, it's a 5-bedroom with a pool that's not heated, when they start having to drop their rates because they're now just another 5-bedroom, you don't have to. You can either push yours up or like stay the same, but like the spread between everything else, your occupancy's higher because it's more desirable and you're getting it at a higher rate. So
nice.
It's a win-win. It's like if you have a traditional pool and you've got easy access to a gas line, you can put a heater in for, let's say, about $10,000.
That's not bad.
And you'll make that up probably in like 2-3 months of the winter. Crazy. So your first year, like it'll very quickly pay for itself.
That's great. And then that little cowboy pool, how much is something like that?
So yeah, we put one in. Same thing. We got like a big ass gas heater for it. That thing was about, I think, $11,000 all in, and that was with us screwing up. I had a guy do the work, and then we got strike teamed. We got caught. I didn't realize they hadn't pulled permits for the work, and they came.
How did they see it?
Well, so they came to do the final inspection on the house that we were rehabbing. I didn't even think anything of it. I was like, oh, let's make sure the pool's done. So when we go live, we're ready. Yeah. And they came out, they were like, what's all this? I was like, oh, it's just a little cowboy pool thing. And then they looked, they were like, they ran a gas line for it. They had to pull electrical out there, and we hadn't pulled either of those permits for that work. So, so I ended up having to, and then it turned out that they hadn't done the work properly up to code. So all of it had to get redone. So I paid for it twice.
So how much is it like if you did it all the right way?
If you do it the right way, probably like $8,500. Okay. Which would for the pool, like the whole thing. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like a little 2-3 foot thing, right?
They're about, this one's 2 foot deep, 10 foot wide, and then I paid a little extra for one that's got like a big plastic liner inside of it, so it actually stays warmer for more of the year. Also stays cool.
It's like a chill thing. You just chill and sip on something.
Yeah, guys will build a little deck around it or something like that. Like once again, like it gives another like Instagram moment. Airbnb is like, you got to get people. It's just like trying to catch eyes on social media. Like, why is somebody going to stop swiping through thousands? There's 7,500 Airbnbs in San Antonio. So why are they going to stop and book yours?
True. Okay, so guys, I think we've dropped a lot of nuggets here. If you haven't learned something from this, I'm not sure what to tell you. But me personally, I wanted to know how to maximize my profit or my cash flow every month, and this is definitely a way to do it. So I learned a lot. Thanks for sharing that information with us, man. Yeah. I wanted to give a little bonus to the viewers, guys. What do you say we go to actually a few of his Airbnbs and he walks us through it and we do a little vlog on it? What do y'all think about that? Drop a comment below if y'all want that, and we might just do it for you. You down for that?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
All right. Last question I gotta ask everybody, man. What does the word clutch mean to you?
Clutch, man. That's delivering under pressure to me.
That's perfect. That's the perfect answer.
A lot of people like to crumble, man, but if you can stand up, you're good.
Man, that's like the most simplest, perfect answer. It's what'd you say there?
Deliver under pressure.
Deliver under pressure. That's like the perfect definition if I looked it up right now in Webster.
Thank you.
Man, so for the viewers, where can they find you? Where can they get some more information?
Yeah, you could follow us, Mouse House Rentals. You can find that. That's mostly going to be about our properties. My wife manages that for us and does an awesome job. Or you can follow me on _Airbnb nerd. I'm always putting out content about same sort of stuff, how you can optimize your Airbnb, how to underwrite them the right way, and hopefully trying to help people that are just getting started to, buy the right house, make sure you set that house up the correct way so you can actually deliver on the investment that you want.
Gotcha, guys. So if y'all are getting value from this episode, make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe. Send it to some friends. Share the knowledge. Share the information. Yep. And you know where to find us on all platforms at JR Clutch, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And remember, if you want us to do a vlog on this and you want us to go to some real properties and talk real numbers, drop a comment. Let us know if you want. And if we get enough, I think we'll do it. All right. So appreciate y'all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Stay clutch.